Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Hello. It's Thursday. I'm going to bring my camera just a little closer. It's Thursday. Are you thirsty? I sure hope so. I have got my L-glutamine and my hot milk mix in here. Have you? You know L-glutamine stops the cravings. You can find that at savingdinner.com/LG. And you also know our fabulous hot milk mix. The hot milk mix hydrates, keeps you in ketosis, and it has important electrolytes, which help to penetrate, not just wash your kidneys, but penetrate hydrations. Miracle, practically. Anyway, Sandy, happy Thirsty Thursday to you. Deborah, good to have you here. Alice, Helen, Jocelyn, and Catherine. My goodness. All of you lovelies just coming on in. Isn't it so fun? I'm happy you're here. The other thing that I want to tell you, besides obviously, there's supplements that I love because they do so much and help so much, is that we also have our carb cutter this week. I just took some because my husband made some delicious hamburgers with delicious hamburger buns. And he said, "Do you want a hamburger?" You know what I said? You know what? That sounds really, really good. And I just went and took 3 carb cutters. Now, on the thing, it says take 2. I take 3. And then guess what? I know that bun's not going to have an impact on me. And I'm happy about it. Ta-da! That's how it works. Hey there, Linda. Glad you're here. Desejude, I guess. Angeles Salazar. Hello. Welcome from Costa Rica. Anyway, so you can find Carb Cutter. You buy 3, you're going to get 1 for free. That's how we roll. In our supplement of the week special, that's at savingdinner.com/show. And remember, you don't have to put 3 in your cart. You just have to click the button and we do all the rest of it for you. That's how we roll. Okay, savingdinner.com/show. That's where it is. Lynn, here you are. I'm so glad. Here is our, it does show up. Perfectionism is a delay tactic fancied up to look respectable. Boy, doesn't that just hit you right between the eyes? It sure did me. It's a good thing to think about and mull over in your head and just say, where am I delaying my life because it's not perfect yet? If that's hit you between the eyes, that's something you need to definitely take a peek-see at. These are the things we need to look. We all have blind spots, y'all. Have you noticed that? I've noticed that. Boy, have I noticed that. And it's all in my notebooks. It's in my journals. It's in everything that I have. I see the blind spots. Some of them I still don't see. But, that's how it is. All right. So today we're going to go a little bit deeper and we've talked a lot about fear. Why don't we run over and jump the fear fence and drop into the courage castle and talk a little bit about developing courage and what that's all about. I think it's a really good reminder. I think it's also something that's really going to help you out because honestly, without fear, there is no courage. And we can't have courage unless we acknowledge the fear and make a decision to have courage to combat the fear. Am I right? Of course, that's how this whole thing works. And Brene Brown, she wrote the book Daring Greatly. She wrote a whole bunch about vulnerability and courage and shame and all the rest of it. And these are kind of my notes from things that I've learned from her. Hello, Carol. Hello, Jeanette. I'm glad you're here. So we're going to talk about that because this is crucial. It's one thing to make a decision about being courageous, but it's also another thing to understand that courageousness requires certain skills. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. So that's what Brene Brown says in her book, Daring Greatly. She says, courage is developed out of learned skills. It's not a natural thing. Our natural thing, run, go, hide. Our natural thing, avoid, avoid, avoid. Our natural thing is pretend it didn't happen, whatever. Our natural thing is to avoid all of this at any cost, because that's what our amygdala would like to do. Our prefrontal cortex, on the other hand, the intelligence that we all own and possess, is the thing that says, hold on a minute. If we hold on to courage, if we develop skills, isn't it true that we can also circumvent this fear factor, or at least shrink it down, or at least find a way through it, around it, up, down, whatever? But isn't this true about what courage does? Absolutely. This is the bone honest truth. And we start to kind of, take it apart a little bit and outline it and reframe what courage is. We understand it's a set of skills. And therefore, yeah, we can learn new skills. We can do new things, right? It sure helps us to get beyond all the normal stuff. So let's talk about it. The number one thing that we have to talk about in developing courage is understanding about what vulnerability is and what it is not. Vulnerability is taking risks. It's exposing your emotions, and it's darned uncomfortable. I don't know of a single soul who wants to expose themselves to emotions. I've shared my story with you before about the woman pastor I sat next to at a dinner, who I told her, once I was starting to, this is years ago, I had just started dating Mark, and we were kind of in that falling in love place. And I said, but I'm going to keep everything at arm's length, because I don't trust that, this guy's going to mow me over. I don't trust all of that. And she looked me square in the eye and she said, if you do not trust, if you do not risk, you cannot love. Period. She said, if you want to love again, you take loving again with all of its risk factors, and you allow for it, understanding that, yes, you could have your heart broken again. And if you're deciding not to, then you will not have what it is that you're seeking, because you don't just get it one way, you get all of it. Vulnerability comes with risks. It also comes with substantial rewards. So this is the risk of being vulnerable. We can never be known intimately. We can never be known deeply unless we embrace this concept of vulnerability. So this is what she says. Vulnerability is our most accurate way to measure courage. I thought that was interesting. And researchers do this all the time. They can measure how brave you are by how vulnerable you're willing to be. Dance like no one's watching, right? That kind of a thing, but way more so, way more than just getting up and dancing in front of everybody. It's that willingness to be vulnerable, even though vulnerability contains a lot of inherent risks. Hey, Jackie, I'm glad you're here. So I just want to also make kind of a delineation here that vulnerability isn't just opening up your kimono and letting anybody and everybody, take a gander and as you bear it all. It's managing uncertainty is what it is. The risk, the emotional exposure. And this is where your creativity comes in. This is where you start to innovate, trust, and your empathy grows. That's where it's all born. I call this your beautiful self because that's where it all lives, right here inside of you. And we connect heart and mind to this by being willing to be a little bit analytical about it, as well as leaning into it and feeling it. Does that make sense to you? It makes great sense to me, because when we have all the deep goodness living inside of us, we recognize and we feel and we know that this also is where vulnerability lives. This is also where it's protected and it's our own. And risking and opening up to those that we deem to be trustworthy, or at least seemingly so if we've been very wounded, then we can learn to love again. We can learn that our heart can be safe with someone else, that our heart can be trusted with someone else. It's a big deal. Believe me, it's a big deal. I understand that, with trauma and pain and suffering, it's difficult to do at times, but it's absolutely necessary. The second part of that is also the clarity of values, right? That we have to have. That's living into our values, not just spouting them off. There's a lot of spouters out there, and there's a lot of people who are not walking it, but they're sure talking it, and we've got to differentiate about that. We need to walk, we need to do, we need to be very super clear about what is important and where our values are in our lives. We can't be mimsy-mamsy about it. We can't be kind of wishy-washy and hopeful that we've kind of got it straight. Our own lives are going to reflect not what we say, but what we do. Period. Not what we say, but what we do. So out of this clarity comes courage, by the way. It's true. We have to have the clarity. We get intentions, we get our words from this clarity, we get our thoughts, we get our behaviors. All of that's wrapped into the clarity that we possess as we are thinking about this whole idea of courage. Courage and clarity go hand in hand. And third is trust, because trust is choosing to make something important to you. And sometimes it's really not important to you, but it's important to someone else, right? Like for me, going and playing poker once a month on a Wednesday night is not important. And I kind of think it's silly. But that's not what my mouth says to my husband as he walks out the door on Wednesday, so excited to go play poker. It's important to him. And I know that's just a very dumb thing, but it's one of the ways in which we put this whole thing out. So trust is choosing to make something important to you vulnerable to the actions of someone else. Okay? So the actions of someone else, I don't know. Maybe someone else is saying like, well, trust me, I have your back. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And for you to say, yes, I do trust you. Even if there's a part of you that doesn't, you could even say, there's a part of me that doesn't simply because I've been so broken before in the past, but I'm still all in. That's being honest and truthful at the same time. It's also risking. It's also putting your vulnerability way, way, way out there. But it's the way of love. It's the path of vibrancy, And then we have to look at, there's an acronym called Braving Trust. And this is Brene's stuff again, but it's just so good. I've got to share it with you, And again, if you want the show notes, they're going to be in tomorrow morning's newsletter. So don't forget to go to savingdinner.com and just sign up for the newsletter. You will not regret it. We have the open rates on I have to brag about this. I've been in this business, online business for 20 something years. We've never had a bigger open rate. And I believe it's because of our fantastic show notes. And every single day they're done for you. And our sweet Lindsay does them. And then I'll go over and do the final edit to make sure everything's, copacetic. And there they are. But it's for you. It's for you to help you with this stuff. And I would love to see everybody have Braving Trust acronym in their journals to look at and to really embrace. So here's what it is. Braving Trust. Remember, it's an acronym. The first thing is B. B. Braving. Boundaries. Sorry. Boundaries. Respect, of course, is essential. If you do not respect someone's boundaries, why should they respect yours? And if you are respecting other people's boundaries, then the thought, the idea, the expectation that they respect yours is important. And this is where conflict and confrontation might come in. If they're not, then that needs to be called out. Absolutely. And remember, we can call out stuff without being asshats about it. We can be loving, we can be endearing, It's like, hey, that's a boundary. You're running right over it. Let's get back in the car and go around the cones, if you've ever done a driving test like that. R is reliability. You can be counted on, or the person that you're with, whatever, can also be counted on. It's very important. Again, that's building trust, right? And A is accountability. Don't write someone off. Trust that they will apologize. And if they don't, and you confront and they say, I didn't even see that. I am so very, very sorry. And there's sincerity there and all of that, then allow for that and give that person another chance. Nobody in your life, my life, or anyone else's life is going to do this perfectly. They're going to, at times, their reliability is just going to go, kind of like that. And they're going to run over a boundary or two. But we are always in path correction mode, aren't we? For ourselves and for our loved ones. Do not expect perfection out of your significant other or any other kind of relationship if you can't give it yourself. And you can't because you're human. So let's remember that. But the accountability of an apology is critically important. And it's great. And the best possible light would be that this person would realize what a faux pas they made or how they let you down. Or the other part would be that, you need to just let them know what that's all about. That's all. You just need to let them know that it's all about. And so we don't write people off if they can't, if they don't do it perfectly. We instead call them out in a kind and gentle way and ask, hey, can you fix this? Maybe this isn't what you meant to do, but this is what it did, and this is how I felt. And if that's the case, then we are in a whole different situation. And V is the vault. Okay, the vault. We jokingly call we have a vault of how many products that we've created in 23 years, 22 years as a business. We have a vault here at Saving Dinner. But this vault is if someone shares your personal info, which is your vault, right? Without your permission, it's a violation. It is a violation. Now, to me, we need to hold that very, very seriously. They need to hold our information very seriously if it's shared in confidence, and vice versa. You need to as well. I recently had somebody who shared a very big health confidence with me, and it kind of startled me. And keeping that information quiet was really hard in a circle of this big circle of friends that I have, because I'm just so concerned. But I'm certain when you violate somebody's confidence in you, you have gone down the ladder into the place of gossip. It's not your information to give. So remember that. And same on the other hand, it is a violation. And at that point, if people make a mistake with boundaries, they make a mistake with the reliability or whatever, and they kind of blow it on that, then that's something that's forgivable, and you can allow for it and, move on. But if you've confided in somebody in confidence and they can't keep that confidential, then that's somebody that you need to really second guess on having them be a part of your inner circle, perhaps. Does that make sense? I is for integrity. When we choose courage over comfort, boy, have we talked about that a lot this week. We're choosing what's right over what's wrong, because comfort is always, always, always going to be the easiest possible thing to do. Courage is a little more hard, a little more difficult, a little bit more, requires more of you. So, we want to choose what's right over fast, fun, or easy. Like our food, what's fast? Fast food. You know what's fun? Fast food. You know what's easy? Fast food. But you know what has the most repercussions in the world? Fast food. So this is the same kind of a thing. We want integrity in our food. We want integrity in our word. and integrity in our social circles, don't we? And our relationships as well. Okay. The next thing is N for non-judgment. Non-judgment. Being vulnerable without judgment, right? Reciprocal non-judgment is really difficult. That's true, because somebody's always going to be judgmental, right? We expect it, we want it, but feel better about giving it than needing it ourselves. Isn't that the truth? I know that is for me anyway. And this is how, though, we can be vulnerable again without judgment by being ourselves the ones who are giving it rather than needing it. And when we do this, there's giving it rather than needing it, but also when we need it, to say that we do. And when we do, that's a courageous act right there, by the way. It's a courageous act to say, I really need a no judgment zone here. I need to really lay some stuff out. Can you just listen to me for a minute? Big deal. G is generosity. This is about thinking the best of someone with your words, with your intentions, and with your behavior. Imagine the world that we could live in, what our worlds would look like if this were the case. That kind of generosity, of loving and believing the best of someone. I've had relationships crumble because of someone not believing the best of me, and it just broke my heart. Broke my heart. Why would I do that to that person after all those years of friendship and what have you? It just doesn't make any sense. But it happens. Human beings are funny creatures. Have you noticed that? All we can do is, when we mess up, is seek forgiveness. Because I'm going to promise you right now, you are going to mess up. You are going to blow it. You are going to run over somebody's boundaries. You are going to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and you are going to insert your foot into your mouth. I promise you will. And what can you do about it? You can seek forgiveness. And when you're in a good relationship with someone else who is looking for high integrity in their relationships, they are going to assume you had the best intention. They are. And know that you didn't do this on purpose, that you didn't say it out of line. And they know themselves that they've done this as well. And that's when that next level goes up. I believe with all of my heart that it does, because we can learn from this. We can learn from this, and we can become the very best that we can become when we are generous and thinking the very best of someone. When we are suspicious of everybody, when everything is a conspiracy theory, including into your little, circle of friends, what a miserable way to live, right? Everything's narrow, everything's tight, everything's just, I'm sure they're just after something. Wow, good luck. Are you happy? There are people out there like that. They live their lives completely like that, completely suspicious the whole time. It's really sad. So we need to learn to rise. And the courage to live authentically without fear is owning our own story. We have to. Your story is your story. My story is my story. And when we do, we're present in our own lives, and we have a hand at writing the ending, at writing the conclusion, at writing the next chapter to what our story is. You see what I'm saying with all of this? We don't just sit there and allow for whatever to come our way. We instead get very purposeful about what's next. You know what? This might have happened, and it might have been difficult, but this is how I want it to go. And then we start to write out our own ending. Don't you love that? When we don't, fear wins. But when we do, we find courage. We don't need the stories of failure. We don't need the setbacks. We don't need all the hurt to own us. What we need is to step up and to step out in courage, and remember that courage to live authentically without fear is owning our own story and taking the future, basically, the reins of the future in our hands, and making a decision about what we want it to be. There's plenty of tragedy out there. There's plenty of horrible, bad stories. There's so much. I've heard a lot sitting in my little coaching chair. I've heard and seen and felt it myself personally. I've been through it with friends and held hands and cried with them. But what I know is this, that when we make a decision for courage and step up, own our own stories, then we have the ability, the capacity, the imagination, every single tool at our fingertips to create the end of the story that we want, to create a happy ending, to create something out of the ashes. Beauty from ashes. It's a real thing. All right, there you go. That ends it. Yes, ma'am, Lynn. Yes, ma'am. So listen, it's the end of the week for us here at Saving Dinner. We will be back, of course, on Monday for Motivational Monday. It will be recorded for you. Helen, thank you. I appreciate that. And Catherine, you're so welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Andrea, nice to see you. I would invite you to go to savingdinner.com/announcements for everything that we have. Okay. We got a lot of stuff going on. Always, you'll find that page it's like a synopsis of what everything for the week. It's going to have everything that you need. Okay. savingdinner.com/announcements. Peace be with you. See you Monday. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.